listen to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, now joined by the dynamic duo. You can listen to them every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Always Justin Spears when Ali isn't doing very important stuff. He's in there as well from 1490. Obviously, Spears and Ali. Hello, Justin. Hello, Ali. How are you guys doing?
Of course, Ali, just like our show, always front and center, man.
Yeah.
Always front and center.
I mean, that's what it is, man. When you've got the most successful man in the industry in the middle and the hardest working man in the industry to my right, or is it to my right or to my left? I don't know. Either way, you guys get the point. So I appreciate it. First of all, what have you guys been up to, Justin? You been traveling at all?
Yeah, I was just in Salt Lake City, Utah for that unbelievable win for Arizona football against the Utes. I mean, that was just an incredible trip, an incredible game for Arizona, something that I will never, ever forget. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
All right, guys, let's get right down to the brass tacks. Arizona made a change in the offensive coordinator. Spears, you need to be more direct on the post game next time on that question. But Matt Adkins, listen, the offense wasn't perfect, Ali, but at the end of the day, it felt a lot different than what we watched those first 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that it was fair to at least question or be concerned with some of what was going on at practice and the coaching, because we were making the same mistakes,
right,
defensively and offensively. And, what Justin and I have kind of talked about on our show is for a head coach, even if this was in the plans, to go to a guy like Dino Babers, who's been coaching for longer than the two of you guys have been alive and has been a head coach in college football and successful, and say, look, I'm going to hand over the play calling duties to Matt Adkins, and for Dino Babers to put his ego aside and be part of the plan, man, that is a really hard thing to do as a head coach. That's a really hard thing to swallow as an offensive coordinator. And I give both Brent Brennan and Dino Babers nothing but credit for doing the hard thing, running to conflict, and doing the best thing in the interest of the team.
What do you think, what do you think, Justin?
I think that, whatever you thought about Brent Brennan being this happy, nice guy, the go-lucky guy that doesn't have any backbone, I think that all completely went out the window. That is such a difficult decision to make, handling the play calling duties from a guy that you worked under. When Brent Brennan first became a coach, when he was a graduate assistant here at Arizona, Dino Babers was an offensive assistant and has 16 years of coaching experience on him. But, according to Dino Babers and Brent Brennan, this was a thing that was in the works from the moment Brent Brennan wanted to bring Dino Babers on. He wanted Dino to be one of the elder statesmen of the staff, because there's a lot of youngsters on this Arizona coaching staff that have a lot of, brilliant. They have a great work ethic. They have a lot of good stuff that they've showed, like Matt Adkins. After having conversations with him, you could tell right away that guy is going to be an offensive coordinator or a head coach someday. But if you look at his experience, prior to San Jose State, he was coaching in the Swedish Football League. And so Dino Babers was like, I wanted to come in here, help mentor Matt and, get him those reps, because, he's had a lot of reps, but he's done it at a smaller level, not at a level like this. And I think that the plan was fast-tracked a little bit. Maybe this was a thing that was going to happen in the offseason, but, after 3 games with the offense really stalling out, I think they needed to make a change, and they did, and it was certainly a good one.
Hey, for a guy that was called the Swedish meatball in high school, you're the last person who should denigrate the Swedish Football League. Okay, Spears?
Yeah, no, what's wrong with that? I thought the same thing. Wait a second, Spears. Yeah. We're gonna take you to task on that.
Yeah, this Albondonga. What is it? Albondigas.
Albondigas
Rojas. Justin Spears. And the other thing I think you can take from the conversation with Dino Babers and what Brent Brennan said is, while this may have been the plan, I don't think it's a far stretch to say that the plan was accelerated during this bye week. I'm not sure they went into the season thinking, okay, after week 3, we're going to hand over play calling duties to Matt Adkins. And again, as a head coach, talking to a guy like Dino Babers, it takes a lot of internal fortitude to have that conversation. It's very difficult. And I give Brent Brennan a lot of credit for having the intestinal, the courage and the self-awareness that a change needed to be made.
All right, now let's talk about Keyan Burnett. Now, Justin Spears is really well known in the city for a multitude of reasons, but he was a TMac denier from day one. We were at practice, and Spears was saying, "I just don't see it with this man, guy. I mean, listen, he's just slow. He's not that good. His hands stink." And we had to sit here and say, "Listen, Spears, just give it a little bit of chance. Give it a little bit of chance." I'm just kidding with all of that. But Keyan Burnett, though, Spears. Listen, Keyan Burnett, Ollie, you can tell it too. That guy's a monster. That is, and this is with all due respect to Tanner McLaughlin, who's going to be, I think, in the NFL for quite a while. Keyan Burnett is a next level talent. That is what an NFL tight end looks like. He dominated all throughout camp. And I think that was the thing that was most frustrating for me, was that you've got this guy and he was targeted 5 times. Matt Adkins comes in and now he looks like an all conference player. Guys, Keyan Burnett to me is a massive difference maker.
Yeah, I agree, man. And during training camp, we saw him as a matchup nightmare. I mean, he was mossing defenders, you catching through traffic. And, having a big body like that is so beneficial for your team. And he completely went away in the first half of the first 3 games. Now, Dino Baber said he was dealing with some injuries. Sorry, guys, I'm in the dungeons of Arizona Stadium right now. So, but it looked like Keyan Burnett was due for a breakout season. I think he learned a lot in those first 2 years working behind Tanner McLaughlin. And Keyan Burnett, we thought, was going to be a potential starter as a true freshman, and then kind of sat behind Tanner McLaughlin for the last couple of years. And after developing his body in the weight room for 2 years and taking those reps behind Tanner McLaughlin, we thought Keyan Burnett was going to be due for a breakout season, and that could still happen. But he wasn't really used. And outside of TMac, Arizona's passing game didn't really have an identity. And we were wondering, when are these tight ends going to get involved? Right. We've seen 12 personnel. We've seen all the 2 tight end sets. We've seen all the tight end usage in training camp. And then as soon as the season started, it all just completely went away. And then, of course, with Matt Adkins, the tight ends coach, now as the play caller, I think it's very fitting that the tight ends were certainly more involved, and Keyan Burnett had a breakout game.
Ollie, do you see a little bit of Heath Miller out there?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, like, you guys remember Keyan Burnett was the top-rated recruit from that class until TMac decommitted from Oregon and came to Arizona. And you guys have a better perspective than guys like me or fans that don't go to practice. All I heard was this guy is really talented, but we never really saw that manifested on the field until this Saturday. And what I saw was a guy, as great as that touchdown catch was, his catch on the sideline, I'm like, man, that guy, his just the body control, his hands, that was an incredible catch. And the job of an offensive coordinator is to create an offensive scheme that puts the ball in the hands of your playmakers. And to me, Keyan Burnett, from what I saw at Utah, he's a playmaker, and we got to devise ways to get him the ball.
And that's really what it comes down to, because when you look at him, he's the proverbial mismatch. First of all, he's a massive individual, and he's fast. So again, it's the proverbial. You put a safety on him, he's going to be too big for him. You put a linebacker on him, he's going to be too fast for him. We've been talking this entire time about who is going to be that guy besides TMac, and I am not out on Jeremiah Patterson. I will stand resolute on this one, but Keyan Burnett's got a really, really good start for it there, Spears. And let me ask you this now. Jeremiah Patterson, please tell people that I'm not lying about Jeremiah Patterson and what he was doing in practice, please.
No, it was real. It was a real thing. And we were going as far as saying, could he be faster than Jacob Cowing?
Yeah.
Could he be a better route runner than Jacob Cowing? Because, not only was he running great routes and making plays, but he was doing it against Arizona starters. We're talking about him running routes on Traden Stukes and Dalton Johnson and all these other great DBs. And the way he was able to get out his breaks and create separation, he looked like, outside of Tetairoa McMillan, the best route runner that Arizona had. And so we thought, man, he was going to be in for a breakout year, which could still happen. But no, I'm telling you, Mike is not lying. When we talk about some of the best pass catchers out of training camp for Arizona this year, Keyan Burnett and Jeremiah Patterson were those top 2 guys outside of TMac, of course, but he was overcoming, that leg injury. And then they just did not have the games that we thought they were going to have in the first 3 games. So to see both of those guys get a touchdown in that game, I think it certainly bodes well for the remainder of the season. And Ollie called it. I completely forgot about it. Jeremiah Patterson's touchdown, when they motioned him inside and put him behind right tackle Jonas Avianaya and then ran him towards the pylon, that's a play that the Kansas City Chiefs run all the time. What's it called, Ali?
Corn dog.
Corn dog, baby.
Basically, that was the game-winning touchdown on the last 2 Super Bowl for the Chiefs, as they ran corn dog. It's that yo-yo motion. And guys, you know, the world was coming to an end after Kansas State, and then we've got all this optimism after Utah. And you know what, we should, but Jeremiah Patterson, Keyan Burnett, Matt Adkins has called one football game. So let's see what happens in this game. I think you might see more Jeremiah Patterson. I saw more motion. I saw more scheming to get guys open instead of the quarterback having to figure out or throw guys open. So I'm going to be really interested in seeing what's next from Matt Adkins from a play calling standpoint, and what is he going to do to whether it's put a guy in motion, put him in the slot so he's going one-on-one against a linebacker, do that yo-yo motion and run corn dog. What is he going to devise to get guys open to make so that you're giving Noah easy passes?
Now Ollie, you've been a long-suffering Steelers fan over the years.
Not long-suffering, buddy. I mean,
haven't seen much success. Kind of like with your Lakers. I know that you and Spears really haven't seen any titles, so you know what? It must be difficult to be fans of the Lakers, you know, and the Steelers for you. But I will say, the offensive line. You know this from your years as a Steelers fan when they were good. I'm sorry, I'm just having a good time with your guys' team.
Go ahead.
Have your guys' success.
By the way, I am a Pirates fan too, so I know misery.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get it, man. Sid Bream, baby. But
Francisco Bleeping Cabrera.
Hey, do you think Justin gets that Sid Bream reference? Is he too young?
I don't think Justin was born when Sid Bream somehow ran from second base and Barry Bonds couldn't throw him out on a line drive single to left.
Wildest thing ever.
1992, baby.
There you go.
I went outside my house, kicked the trash can, and my neighbor called the cops for a domestic violence complaint. And I'm like, officer, if domestic violence falls within me beating up a trash can, guilty as charged. And the guy's like, have a good night, sir.
And then it gets worse. And then he left. Ollie's team and he goes to the Giants and he wins. He wins his third MVP because he won 2 with you guys. So either way,
should have given him flaxseed oil in Pittsburgh. That was a mistake.
Yeah. All right, but the offensive line though, guys. The Steelers obviously made a living on the offensive line. That looked totally different as well. And I think that's what surprised me the most is that the O-line more than held both lines, and we'll get to that in a second, more than held its own. But you put Deuced in there on the interior. You've obviously got Wendell Moy. You got Josh Baker. You got Big Rhino. You got Jonah. All of a sudden, the O-line kind of looked like I think we were hoping it would. Because, guys, here's where I'm at with this. Arizona still returned 4 or 5 starters on the offensive line. Now, granted, there's a different one in there as well now. But there was no reason that it should have been pushed around the way it did. That's where I'm at, fellas.
What I was worried about was, you play the way you practice. And were we so worried about injuries that we weren't practicing physically? Because the biggest difference from the Utah game to the first 3 games was both offensive and defensive line were physical. And the first 3 games, it seemed like we were finesse. We were the more physical team at Utah, where I would argue that we were the less physical team in all 3 games prior to that. So to me, you want to be an ice bath team. You want those guys going for ice baths after you play. I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't want guys being like, I'm good. I'll take a shower and have some canes. So offense and defensive line, I think, is where that game was really won, and we were much more physical.
Oh, by the way, Brian Blackmore, real quick. Brian Blackmore, also a very good person to follow on Twitter, a very important person. Justin's hair looking good, blown in the wind. Here's the thing about Spears. Spears never doesn't look good. He can be wearing his OVO shirt for the 9th straight day at practice, right when Kendrick is annihilating his guy, and guess what? Spears still has style. That's what we like about Spears. Spears, with your hair blowing in the wind, though, thoughts on Ollie and the offensive line, though?
I thought the offensive line collectively played their best game of the season. And, there's one particular block that Alexander Deuce made that was just so impressive. I think it was the big run from Kedrick Risano that set up that Jeremiah Patterson touchdown. Alexander Deuce, the way he was able to close off that defensive tackle, he was the reason why that play happened. And so you love to see that. I mean, his first start at Arizona, we've heard a lot of great things about him, that he is the strongest offensive lineman that Arizona has. So we knew that he was going to eventually get in, and he's still young. He still has a few years left of eligibility. And then, honestly, I think out of all the offensive linemen that just impressed me the most, and of course, Davis Monthan Air Force Base decides to launch a couple of F-16s right above me. We got a jet flyover on.
They just want to see
Spears and Ali.
It's not that loud, and it actually just seems like it's emphasizing your point to make you appear to be more knowledgeable and intelligent.
Okay.
That's whose hair gets moving.
I know.
But
You're like a what is it? A Head and Shoulders commercial right now.
like your boy Palomalu. Yes. But I think the one offensive lineman that I'm just really happy to see have success was Rhino Tapatotai, because filling in for Jordan Morgan, being the successor to that guy, the first offensive lineman drafted in the first round since John Fina.
Yeah,
like replacing that guy and succeeding him, that's a very tall task, and to do it when you don't have any collegiate snaps, like that's so hard. And so Rhino, he was kind of baptized by fire in the last two games against Kansas State and against Utah. Great defensive pass rushes, but to go up against Van Fillinger and those guys that they have on the other side, I mean, we're talking about Utah. They are the number one team in the Big 12 when it comes to sacks. Going into Saturday, Connor O'Toole and Fillinger, those two guys had more sacks than Arizona as an entire team. So that was a huge test for Rhino, and for Rhino and Jonah and all those guys to not give up a single sack against those guys at their place. Man, that says a lot. And Rhino is also a Salt Lake City native. He grew up in West Valley City, Utah, which is about 20 minutes away from Rice-Eccles Stadium. And to see him smile like the cat from Alice in Wonderland after that game, out of all the guys that you participated in that game on Saturday, I'm really happy for Rhino.
I've got to give Spears a lot of credit too. Listen, one of my highlights of my life was informing Jeff Bowe last year that it was Keyan Burnett, not Keyan Burnett. And that was listen to how Spears does every single name. It is, dude, joking aside, that is impressive. I imagine you and Brian Jeffries having like late night coffee and studies, just going with that. I'm going to throw some names at you right now, Justin, and let's see what you got. Okay. Let's see. A backup linebacker from Hawaii. I'm not going to pronounce the name. You will pronounce the name.
Kamuela Kaihu.
Wow. Okay. Big Rhino.
Rhino Tapatotai.
Okay. Big Jonah.
Jonah Savianaya.
All right. Yeah.
You get the only one that messes me up is Big Stanley from USC.
That was going to be we're going to talk about Big Stanley in a minute.
Taofu. I think that's how you pronounce it. Taofu. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but
Big Stanley was very impressive. We got to get to the D line here in just a second, but first,
can I just say? Oh, go ahead, Mike. You got to do a read. I just want to say he's incredible with players' names, and then he pronounces everyday words like cuisine. He says cuisine, which is the character, the Martian alien from the Flintstones. It's the Great Cuisine. No, kazoo. I know, but he can't say cuisine. But he pronounced every.
Because growing up, I always had Kid Cuisine, the food.
I love Kid Cuisine.
Dude, but I called it Kid Cuisine. I'm like, dude, Kid Cuisine, mac and cheese, the brownie, the nuggets. Give me some Kid Cuisine.
Kid Cuisine sounds like a Persian rapper. Seriously. And now, opening up for Kendrick Lamar, we have Kid Cuisine coming in here now. But
don't try another version. I'm from the land they call Persian. Yeah, I mean the Kid Cuisine, baby.
Oh, exactly.
Open shirt, gold chain. Yeah, I got that outfit at home.
A little bit of the hair poking out to be. Yes.
Yeah.
But first, let's pay the bills, though. Empire Flooring. All right. Now, you might look at Ali, and you're like, man, this guy is anything this guy does, he's successful at. He owns football teams. He's a really prominent lawyer. You go downtown and you see I've seen that many, many times. A very, very cool law firm office. But you might say Empire Flooring and Ali, these things go together because they're both successful. And that is the thing that I think we need to talk about here for a second. This is the elephant in the room. We've ignored this long enough. Look at Ali, and you might say, man, everything in there must be amazing. Empire Flooring might even be able to take it to the next level. Well, he's off arguing before the Ninth Circuit. He could have sparkling Empire Flooring. Schedule an in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empireday.com/PHNX for details. Listen, like I said, success breeds success.
Yeah, I do have cool stuff. There's the, let me see. There's the signed Fletch picture I've got right there.
Okay, very cool.
My prized possession. So yeah, Empire Flooring, when you're looking to do your, redo your carpets, clean your carpets, they're really the Fletch.
Right.
6'9", 6'6", 6'9" with the afro of companies.
Now, you might say to yourself, all right, enough about Ali. Let's talk about Justin Spears. Spears going around the country, going as, the beat writer, the most important job, in my opinion, in this city, beat writer for Arizona football, going all around the place. And you're right, man, I don't have the connection Spears does. Well, who does? Guess what, though? Game Time. Game Time can get you in the door just like Justin Spears does. And you could probably follow him around as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Not everybody's Justin Spears. We know that. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. Download Game Time app. What time is it? Game Time. Ooh. Dude, Chicago Bulls right there, 1996, man. Just the way it is. I got both of you guys into the read. I got the success, and I got the traveler. Both of them in the same park. Okay, now, speaking of which, Justin Spears, you might say Spears played a little bit of football in his day. One of those really good linemen. Let's talk about the defensive line. Guys, that to me was what really did it for me. Isaiah Johnson, I need more Isaiah Johnson. I think having Stanley in there as well. They handled themselves very, very well against Utah, and I think that was a big part of it.
They finally stopped an athletic quarterback from running wild. The first 3 games, 279 rushing yards given up to quarterbacks. Just quarterbacks alone, nearly 280 in the first 3 games. Isaac Wilson had -9 yards.
Right.
So they were able to bottle up Isaac Wilson, really make him one-dimensional. Micah Bernard, I thought Utah had some nice runs, but they really made Isaac Wilson one-dimensional, and they were able to apply pressure on Isaac Wilson. Not just the defensive linemen, but guys like Jacob Manu and Tay Brown, the linebackers, they were very crafty with their blitzes, and they put pressure on him, and they made him kind of force some throws a little bit. And so I love the pressure. I love the defensive linemen. I mean, they played 11 guys in that game, and that's without Chuba Ma'ai, who's overcoming a leg injury. So I think this was the best defensive lineman performance for Arizona this season. And again, it's kind of going back to what we were talking about with the offensive line. It's not just the fact that they played well, it's who they played against.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like Utah, this is their bread and butter, man, having a good offensive and good defensive line. And so for both units to look like that, man, I think it really, really bodes well for Arizona moving forward. They certainly needed a game like that to kind of find their mojo.
Ollie, I see you nodding in fatherly approval of what Justin just said.
Yeah, I mean, you understated his prowess as a offensive lineman at Cienega High School. So in Tucson, we've got something called the Miniature Museum. You guys have heard of it. They have a special section where they have a Hall of Fame for centers under 5'5", and Justin is in that Hall of Fame.
Oh, cheap shot.
But,
5'8" on a good day.
Yeah, 5'8" with when he's wearing those Kiss heels. So I got to tell you that what I saw from the defensive line is the run fit was a lot better. I was, the 3 most common words a coach says to his players is "do your job." Guys were doing their job. There was gap integrity, and as with the offensive line, technique plus physicality. They were physical. And I didn't really see that physicality until that game. So the physicality with each player doing their job and being gap sound, man, then we're going to be okay from a run defense standpoint. And then you make a team one-dimensional. You can put your ears back and rush the quarterback, and that's where you get your sacks. That's where you get your turnovers.
You know where I'm really excited too, guys, to see is the corner or the defensive backs. Listen, Dwayne Aquino, when it comes to defensive backs, is literally the GOAT. I mean, there's no better defensive backs coach in college football history than Dwayne Keenan. There's just not. And listen, when Stooks went out, obviously Marquise Groves Killebrew, I was incredibly impressed, and we'll get to Takario in a second, by what Emmanuel Carnley did. This is a guy that, Lamont was texting me a little bit, and he's like, that's a kid with a really, really bright future. The plug and play thing in the secondary, I thought was very impressive. Again, I get you're going against a backup. Guess what? I don't care. You still have to play well. Guys, I think you're starting to see too in that secondary, there's a lot of different dudes that can make plays out there.
Yeah, I think Genesis Smith is probably my favorite out of all the guys that they have, just because he's still very young, but you could see his frame and what he's brought so far as an underclassman. That's an NFL defensive back.
Yes.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Lathan Ransom, Tucson native, over playing at Ohio State right now.
Anybody
who's going to be in the NFL?
You know anybody that coached him? A fly-by-night coach, perhaps? Anybody?
Or this guy.
Yeah, there you go.
This guy.
Yeah. Jimmy's and the O's, not the X's and the O's, man. We had some great players, and Lathan was certainly one of them.
But man, Genesis Smith is legit. You want to see a guy like Traden Stooks come back and get into the mix, just because having that depth and having the dollar package and those 7 defensive backs, having everybody available for that scheme is definitely ideal for Arizona. But I like the depth that they have at Arizona. And I honestly, when Jetfish left for Washington, you saw Prysock go. And then on top of that, what people didn't really talk about was the recruits too, like Jordan Shaw coming in from Indiana, all of the young defensive backs that they signed for 2023 or 24, like they were going to come into Arizona, and then they all went to Washington. So Arizona, they were really lacking depth at DB, but the guys they have right now are certainly great.
But by the way, people asking,
what effect do you guys think that Dalton Johnson being back in the lineup had on that secondary against Utah? Do you think that was really big?
Yes, he's just a massive. He's just a quarterback on the defense. By the way, you will be getting some news at the press conference about red shirts. I'm not getting into any of that, but you will be getting some news on that. I will give you no more details on this, but I very much approve of the decision. Take that for what it's worth. But with Dalton Johnson, every now and then there's just a player that you don't look at him and you're like, man, that's Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu. How about that? You just look at him and you're like, man, the secondary is just a lot better when he is out there. He understands where to be. And he is a player, I think, with Dalton Johnson, you don't really realize necessarily how good he is until he's not out there. He is just a soothing influence when he is on the football field. And honestly, I was talking with a coach last year about Dalton Johnson because he's very popular. And the one thing that he said was, he's like, listen, man, he said, we put him out here immediately. I don't know how he wasn't playing last year. And I think about Christian Young and, some of the stuff. And I'm like, man, Dalton Johnson would have been nice to have out there. But he is just a nice little safety valve. Even that's not the right term, but you get it.
Yeah, no. And honestly, having a guy like that is so good against tight ends. And like those type of players. So having him available for Brant Keithy, all of the other tight ends, that certainly helps. Because, I mean, with all due respect to Owen Goss, the transfer from Colgate,
right?
He was kind of getting picked on in that game against Kansas State. Yeah. And, the other DBs were there as well. And so not having Dalton Johnson was so critical in that game against Kansas State, and having him back as one of the leaders on the defense, I think that's big for Arizona. So it's good to see him back healthy. And, when this Arizona defense, when they have all of these guys in the secondary available, it really helps them out because of the chemistry and the camaraderie. These are guys that have played together for so long that they don't need to communicate. They kind of are already on the same wavelength. They're on the same page, and they know exactly what the other guy is doing. When you throw another guy into that conversation, that can kind of create, I'm not saying create chemistry issues, but it's not as smooth as when you have a guy that you've played a dozen plus games with.
All right, let's get to expectations here, because again, before the season, I was a big listen. I'm generally wrong on most things. That's why I have to listen to these guys from 7 to 9 every morning on 1490, because that's where I can get some information, get some right knowledge in there. But guys, I thought that this was a team that, you had to be able to capitalize. I mean, you both have been around long enough. Obviously, this is a team that, this is a program that has never really been able to string back-to-back seasons. And again, you don't have a ton of recruiting advantages, so it helps if you've got back-to-back 10-win seasons. And I think a huge part of that, obviously, is the offense. And we got a little bit of a graphic here, and this, to me, is really still what's got to be able to carry this team this season coming forward is you've got Noah Fifita and you got TMac. At the end of the day, this is your guy. This is your freshman All-American. This is the guy that's showing up at Spears charity golf tournaments. This is the guy that you've got to be able to, if he's not the best quarterback in the country, he's got to be one of the best. And same with TMac as well. These are your marquee guys. And, they're going to go as far as Arizona, or we're going to go as far as they take Arizona because they're truly special players.
Yeah, I mean, they're the leaders of this Arizona team. I mean, they are the best quarterback receiver combination in all of college football.
Yeah, I mean, if we're, being objective about it, I mean, Noah against Utah, I mean, it wasn't like A+ game. I mean, he had his struggles. He threw that interception in the end zone when running underneath Keyan Burnett was wide open. But in the biggest moment, when the crowd was in a frenzy and Arizona's got their heels on their own end zone and the momentum is shifting a little bit, we're up 16-10. The poise that young man showed to make two of the biggest throws of the season,
right?
I mean, it's really incredible. And so, as Noah continues to work in this offense with Matt Adkins calling the plays, and giving him like those easy throws and scheming things up, I think we're going to see Noah get better and better as the season goes on. And from a big picture standpoint, guys, the expectations going into this season, what we thought this team was going to be, the offensive line being pretty much all back and the defensive backfield and Jacob Manu and some high hopes based on what the coaches said about the defensive line. We saw the team we were hoping to see as close to it as we expected against Utah. And that's that should give Arizona fans hope.
Yeah, Justin, you were there on the ground, boots on the ground, obviously. And again, I know it wasn't perfect because, like Ali said, they definitely left some points on the field. But this was the first time, and again, I don't really count New Mexico because it's New Mexico. But Arizona did enough offensively, and I'm really hoping against Texas Tech that they can build on it because they're going to be going against a worse team, obviously defensively, but they showed some prowess for the first time, and I think Keyan Burnett was a big part of it.
Keyan Burnett was a big part of it. Sam Olson, too, the transfer from San Jose State. Expect him to get some touches this season. Quali Conley, also Kedrick Reesano. I think that, those two running backs are going to be so effective for Arizona, especially in the passing game, too. We saw, Quali Conley, start to get some touches there in the passing game. So I think that will certainly improve. I also think that, TMac is due for another monster game.
Yes.
Like we're talking about like another 200, potentially 300-yard game. Right. And, if you look at his production this season, TMac, all of his numbers are all coming in the first quarter, second quarter.
It's a great point.
Then it starts to drop off a little bit. I'm wondering, I don't know if that's a conditioning thing or if Arizona's just not looking for TMac, if that's just how defenses are going up against TMac. But I think eventually as the season progresses, you're going to see TMac start to produce more in the second half. And by the way, the first kid, the bad guy, was Sinbad.
Yeah, the first kid. Yeah, that's hilarious.
I was trying not to laugh at that. I was trying not to laugh at that one.
Good help. And, it's hard not to look at the comments, man. The people that are commenting, you guys are hilarious.
Oh, they're fantastic, dude.
It's all positive, and it's just hilarious. So
it's a feel-good. By the way, I don't have a shiner. I got a mosquito bite, though. Not good. Somebody asked me if I had a shiner, but I've never actually been in a real fight. Did you know this?
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Even when I'm introducing Persian rappers on stage, at the Lil Kazine, it just doesn't happen, man. I think here's the deal. They look at somebody like Mike Luke and they're like, man, that is a physically imposing person, man. That guy's probably a bouncer in his spare time, probably a heavyweight boxer. So I don't think that they want anything to do with me at that point. So, Sometimes you just got to be a little scared. Speaking of somebody that people do want something to do with, Kayden Luke. We need to talk about Kayden Luke, Fam 2.0 on this show. He's a good culture fit, man. I think I loved seeing him get a carry. Here's what I did when we're at Bourbon Bent, and I've got this thing going now. Every time there's a big play, I just go, whop, 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 whop. And yeah, there we go. Whop, 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 whop. And man, I was doing that all the time when he did that. We need more Kayden Luke. I like the fullback now.
Yeah, Justin was eating his brownie in the press box and didn't know that actually Kayden Luke got a carry for 4 yards during the game. And
you didn't know this?
Yeah, I had my head down. I did not see the run. I'm like, wait, what? Kayden Luke rush?
Do you guys know how incredible it is as a great high school career that young man had, where he wasn't really offered many opportunities to play Division I college football, gets a walk-on opportunity at the U of A, and is getting actual playing time as a true freshman. Do you really understand how difficult that is and what a testament it is to Kayden Luke?
People don't understand how big he is either. Like, he is a massive individual. Spears actually sent me a picture of him as he was leaving practice because he's got Luke tatted in Old English on his back. And then it said Mike Luke or Kayden Luke. Well, he's a little bigger than me. But no, it's awesome seeing stories like this, Justin. I would imagine if anybody here know the official beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star when it comes to Arizona football, the one source that it comes to, anybody know who that might be?
Not me.
Yeah.
No clue. But
no. They literally try to treat him like a redheaded stepchild. You would think that he would get maybe a little more access being the beat writer for the major paper in town. But that's me.
Yeah.
And taking Justin's side. But Kayden Luke, if you guys are He-Man fans, Kayden Luke is Ram Man. That guy that's like just squat and just runs into. I mean, he could be our short yardage guy. You know, you got a 4th and 1, 4th and inches. He's just powerfully built, and it's just amazing what he's done as a walk-on freshman.
I got to agree with you as well. Spears is a humble person, but I'm going to say it almost is like you might want to put that out there when you got somebody that's a really reliable journalist that everybody across the board respects. You got good stories like that. I'm just saying theoretically, I might push them towards Justin Spears as well because I can't think of anybody better to write that story. Wink, wink. But but on a serious note, Kayden Luke would be a killer story for you, though, man.
Oh, absolutely. And a guy who grew up in Tucson, a guy who went to Arizona football games growing up. And, you know, like Ollie said, he wasn't a highly touted recruit, but the man was super productive in high school. I mean, he led the state in rushing last year, is also a state champion wrestler.
Right.
Like he is as fullback as it comes. Like he is the most, no one has fullbacked harder since Mike Allstott. Like that's where we're at right now.
If you took Tim Rathman from the 49ers, if you remember him, and like pushed him down 6 inches, it's Kayden Luke.
Yeah. Did you say Tim Rathman?
Yeah.
No, Tom Rathman.
Tom Rathman. All right. Now you know what is a running joke with me and Justin. He gets every name right. I'm there in substance, but I always get the name a little wrong.
I'm going to give you a lot of credit here. Do you know who shared the college football backfield with him? Tom Rathman at Nebraska. You
Mike Rozier?
What's that?
Was it Mike Rozier?
Roger Craig.
All right.
Yeah, so you should know. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Was that better, right? Yeah.
I can't stand people with 2 first names, though. That's always been a massive issue for me. 2 first names: Mike Luke, Roger Craig, Brad Rich. I mean, these guys. I don't know anybody named Spears, so I can't really go in that realm. Okay, now we're gonna get to some basketball here in a little bit, or quickly, because again, we got about 15 minutes or so. But let me ask you this, though, Spears. Where are you now with your expectations? Because I know you guys both backed the A before the season. I very much liked it. Both, I think, Justin, you were 10 wins, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is correct. Ollie,
yep.
Same thing?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, I had a lot of questions after the first 3 games. Many of those questions were answered in Utah, and I was gratified to see that there were the adjustments that needed to be made. They used the bye week to do it. And this is a very talented team. So barring attrition and injuries, this team is poised and right there to win the Big 12 title.
Justin, I see you wanted to hop in there.
Yeah, honestly, though, the one thing that I am cautious about is the teams on Arizona's schedule. Going into this year, we thought, oh, there's a gimme. There are absolutely
None.
Zero gimmies.
Right.
None. Not even West Virginia at home here. Like, there are no gimmies. Colorado is much better than we thought. UCF is one of the best running teams in college football. They are so much better than we thought. Texas Tech, they're undefeated in conference play. Like, TR Burns, 826, made a good point. Houston, that's probably a gimme game. Houston's dog water.
Not that we got a lot bigger issues here.
Yeah. But
now Houston went into Norman, Oklahoma, and lost to Oklahoma by 2 points. And
that too.
Right. So the Big 12 is harder than the Pac-12. I'm sorry, but it's true. And you got to bring it every game. And it's a much more physical league, and the fan bases are much more passionate. And we as Arizona fans, look at what happened in Salt Lake. Look at what happened in Manhattan, Kansas. Look at what those crowds, where they are. They're all in the stands when the game starts. Yes. So we better learn how to step it up and actually be a real home field advantage and help the team.
Now, also, that's time for a tease as well. Guess what? You might say to yourself, Ali, he looks like a man of the people, somebody that probably drinks something like a man of the people. Ali strikes me as somebody, even with the Stanford shirt on, because again, Ali very successful. People from Ali, or people like Ali, have Stanford shirts. I do not have a Stanford shirt, but guess what? Ali also drinks NUTRL. I have no doubt in my mind that Ali drinks NUTRL. And guess what? You might be are you going to be at the party on Friday after the Red Blue game? That seems like something that both of you guys would be at, correct?
Keeping it tasty, Mike.
That's what I like. Again, exactly. Now, you might say Justin Spears. That is a man, doesn't drink a ton, but when he does, I can guarantee you there's a little bit of a NUTRL flavor, a little bit of a St. Louis Anheuser-Busch hinge to his breath. Yeah, that sounds terrible. Never mind. Keep it... Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch NUTRL at Flavored Vodka Carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri, is our good friend Paul Volpe, who I would assume our good friend Paul Volpe will be at this as well, maybe drinking a NUTRL.
Volpe will definitely be there. And you know what? All the former Arizona greats, Tommy Lloyd, the current players, the coaches, all that is like window dressing. You go to the post-game red and blue at Gentle Ben's, you get to meet and shake hands with Paul Volpe. That's well worth the price.
I'm actually not happy with Paul Volpe right now. Did I tell you about this?
No. Did he charge you a point on your home loan? What happened?
No. We'll get to that in just a second, but I want to get in trouble with the people that write my check. Now, branded bills. You might say, Mike Luke, you don't have a branded bills hat on. Correct. But it's an inner circle hat. And that is something that obviously I like. By the way, I'm going to apply for a job at Circle K at 6th Street for 4 hours per month. That is going to be my thing that I'm going to do so that I can actually say that I am part of the inner circle. But only 4 hours a month, though. No more. But branded bills, though. We're brought to you today by Branded Bills. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills. The perfect headwear and apparel. Use code PHNX for $20 off your first order. Or let's see, you're 20% off your first order. It'd been a free hat then at that point. Either way, check it out. Branded Bills premium headwear and apparel. Save 20% with code PHNX. Okay, now I am not happy with Paul Volpe right now. Now
How's
you might
that possible? How's that possible?
All right.
What?
So Murph didn't return my last text. So guess what I do? I get a message from Paul Volpe and he's with Murph. And I told Paul Volpe, I said, hey, tell him that I want my question answered. And he said, not going to do it, Luke. Not happy. This will be a confrontation of the highest order come Friday. I'm just saying, get ready for it. That's what it's going to be.
Paul Volpe is our generation's Frank Khalil, except for he's also married. But there is no one who supports Arizona basketball, Arizona athletics more than Paul Volpe and Nova Home Loans.
Can we talk about, because Paul Volpe's obviously the man. This is like a TMac shtick with me, with Spears thinking the TMac stinks. Can we talk about that trip really quickly? Because I saw so many pictures of the three goats, the three wise men, Ali, Paul Volpe, and Bruce Pascoe.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better than that. Bruce Pascoe getting a speeding ticket while he's out there as well. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about it. Was it everything the pictures looked like?
So what you're talking about is the trip we took to the Middle East last year with the basketball team, and it was a small group of donors, boosters. And man, on my bingo card, traveling Israel and the Emirates with Bruce Pascoe was not on it, but there we were, and that was with all sincerity. And we just had a reunion at Tommy Lloyd's house on Sunday.
Must be
It
nice.
was a trip of a lifetime. I mean, just relationships that are going to be lifelong, and it's impossible to articulate how special that trip was.
I don't know what I'm more jealous of, to be honest with you. You being able to go to the Middle East with all of those legends, or Spears being able to work side by side with Bruce Pascoe. I don't know.
Man, I witness greatness every single day.
You know what,
There's
Bruce?
nobody. He is one of a kind. There is not one person in the United States. Actually, there's one. There's not two people.
There's no
If
two.
you ask them what is their favorite dish for Thanksgiving, only one. The great Bruce Pascoe says salad.
Oh, that doesn't. Hey, you guys want to hear when I was at the radio? You want to hear a great Bruce Pascoe story? Sorry, I could talk about Bruce all day because I love Bruce, and I'm allowed to do this. There will be no negative Bruce comments, otherwise you're banned. Okay, but so Bruce is literally the best person in the world. Or if he's not, he's literally right up there. So I asked Bruce one time, I was like, hey, dude, we had a guest that just kind of bailed on us. Can we get you on? And he's like, what time? And then I was like, 3:40. And then he's like, well, I'm going to be hiking Sabino Canyon with my wife. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to talk to myself then. And he says, hold on, wait a second. And then he texts me back like 5 minutes later, and he says, there is a spot out there. There's a rock that has pretty good reception. He said, I'm going to do my best. And he literally called in from this rock at Sabino Canyon, and you could hear like all of the air and probably planes and all the stuff. But it was just like, man, this dude Bruce is the man. Bruce is also the guy that when he went to Israel, he washed all of his untuckets in the sink with dish soap. No, he told me.
Yeah, he's very resourceful.
Yes. Speaking of which, let's get to some basketball. Guys, got a few minutes left here. When it comes to Arizona basketball, I am excited. I grew up in the Pac-12 or Pac-10, and before Spears was alive, really. I like how I talk about myself like I'm like 82 years old. But there was always like 3 or 4 really good teams. UCLA under Jim Herrick, Mike Montgomery at Stanford. There was always then like USC or somebody else. That wasn't here anymore. That wasn't here. You would go to Stanford and there'd be nobody there. You would go to Oregon State, there'd be nobody there. Guys, we're going into a conference with sports fans, people that actually care about athletics, and it's the best basketball conference in the country. What's that old term that steel sharpens steel?
Iron sharpens iron.
Oh.
Yeah, that you're almost there with Mike Tomlinisms.
Yes.
And remember, I'm not going to tell you how the hot dog is made because you might not like it. So,
but steel sharpens steel or metal, whatever, dude. My ADHD is going everywhere now.
Metal sharpens metal.
Yes, metal sharpens metal. But guys, this is exciting stuff. And to see Bruce Pascoe going to be hanging out in those student venues, yes, please sign me up for 2.
Yeah, the other thing is you talked about the Jim Herrick UCLA teams. You talked about, the Cal teams, the Stanford teams. But there was always like 1 or 2 or 3 teams that were good. And then everybody else, not so much. The Big 12 has got legitimately 6 or 7 teams that are top 25 worthy. Yep. And I don't like preseason ranks because, the pundits like Justin, they don't know what they're talking about. They're not scouting those other teams. So when they put ranks out there, they don't know what they're saying. But based on what's coming back from last year, I think this is the greatest quality home conference schedule in Arizona basketball history.
Yes, I agree with that. What do you say, Justin?
Potentially best home schedule period, too. I mean, when you factor in Duke coming to town, we got Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick, coming down to Tucson and playing against the Wildcats at McHale Center. The amount of talent that is coming through Tucson this year, it's second to none. So I would probably, I'm willing to bet that Arizona has its best home schedule ever. And this is the kind of stuff that you would like to see out of Arizona. You don't want to see Arizona kind of tuck their tail and run and really prop themselves up by beating up on a bunch of cupcakes and then getting into Pac-12 play where there's more cupcakes and they snack up on them. Yeah, they might have a couple of, setbacks against the UCLAs and the Oregons of the world, but no joke, like every single week, Arizona is going to get tested. And so I'm telling Arizona fans now, I don't want to hear any bitching and moaning when Arizona is a number 4 or a number 5 seed in the tournament. I think they can be higher because I think they have that much talent. But I'm telling you, like, I would much rather see Arizona be battle tested and be a lower seed and get to the Final Four than be that 1 or 2 seed that's losing a double-digit seeds because they weren't ready.
Because you know what? Iron sharpens iron, right, Justin?
Yeah,
exactly.
Metal sharpens metal. I like Dennis Walsh, the great Dennis Walsh, or no, Brad Rich, another 2 first name guy, says tacos sharpen burgers. Del Taco. I do agree with that.
Funny. That's funny. And by the way, I was not that I'm, I can scout the team, but I was at practice on Monday. And guys, you're going to be happy with this team. You're going to be happy. This is a really tough team.
You know what I think here? And again, I love Tommy Lloyd. I hope Tommy Lloyd is here for 900 years. I hope that he is. Listen, we have a gem. I think a couple of the things, though, that is going to help Tommy Lloyd in the Big 12, though, is that Tommy Lloyd's just a good dude. Tommy Lloyd's not looking to be a jerk for no reason, things like that. And I think there were times, last year where guys just kind of got comfortable. Well, we're going to play Stanford or we're going to play Oregon State and we can just show up. That doesn't work in the Big 12. If you show up there to Iowa State and you're like, we just show up, you're going to lose by 800 points. So it's almost, I think Tommy Lloyd, like I said, he's a great coach, but I think in that way, it's almost going to help them as well, because again, there's no cupcakes. You can't go through your out of conference schedule and then be like, okay, well now we got 8 games where you're like, This is gonna be different, fellas. This is gonna be really different. So when Ali's going around in his private jet with Paul Volpe and taking pictures, you're gonna be in a different environment, my friend.
Yeah, and don't think that we're gonna stroll into stadiums and be able to sit wherever we want like we did in the Pac-12. Getting a ticket at Hinton Fieldhouse in Ames, Iowa. I mean, of course, Kansas, but Baylor, Houston, Cincinnati. It's not going to be easy. We're not going to hear U of A chants on TV in the Big 12.
You want to know something that I probably have over Ali when it comes to a cool factor? Probably the one thing in my entire life, Justin Spears. Although I'm going to be really embarrassed if Ali has this as well.
I would continue this conversation, but I think Arizona Stadium's trying to get me out of here.
Yeah, you're good, my man.
We got a freaking fire alarm going off here.
Well, no, it's
you know what? Because this show's smoking. Man, we've been on fire for like the last hour.
No, it's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Now we'll just tell it to stop. But yeah, it keeps going. But again, Justin, you're the man, dude. Ali and I can take it from here, but very much appreciate you. Again, the hardest working man in the industry. Literally, Jason and I talk about this all the time. I have never come across anybody that doesn't like Justin Spears outside of Mick Cronin. And that's only because that was a case of mistaken identity. Yeah, I don't think that he knew that was you. So again, listen, Justin is the man. He makes us all proud. And I always say too, when you go national, remember the folks back here in the old Pueblo. Remember your lawyer friend. Remember your podcast buddy in his guest room. Just remember the little folks there, Justin Spears. The man, like I said, dude, salute emoji, tip of the cap, all of it. You're the best, dude.
And alarm's off.
Yeah.
Oh, he put it on mute. I just see the light going off in the background. He's like a public enemy video.
Yeah, no, it was.
Welcome to the Terror Dome, yeah. Justin.
What were we talking? Oh, I got something that I might have over you, Ali. Maybe the one thing. Were you at Allen Fieldhouse in 2003 for the Saline?
I was not, man. Is that when Saline put 32 on Kansas?
In the second half.
Yeah.
Dude, that game was I have never been in an environment like that. Because keep in mind, Arizona came into that game ranked number 1 in the country. Oh, by the way, you want to know another fun fact that you can tell your friends, Ali?
What's that?
Out of all the Arizona teams in history, which team do you think spent the most weeks ranked number 1?
Was it that team?
It was that team. Yeah.
2005?
Yeah, 2003. 2003.
Okay, yeah, wow.
But it was
a good team, man. That was a really good team.
Really good team. So watching it, and you're like, all right, well, Kansas, they're up 6 at the half, and they interview Lute. Lute's clearly not happy. And then, dude, Salim just hit them and hit them and hit them again. And I remember I was sitting to a couple kids next to me because I was still in high school at the time, and this one guy looks at me and he just says, "What the F?" Like, it was just, dude, it was an amazing performance. Have you been to Allen Fieldhouse?
I haven't. I want to go, but I want to go to Iowa State more.
You got to go. Well, aren't you going to take the private jet to Kansas though? You got to go. Come on, dude. You got to travel.
We'll see what happens. But there's so many great venues. Somebody talked about Manhattan, Kansas, the Kansas State. I mean, there's so many great places. And then another thing I want U of A fans to pick up from Big 12 fans, I heard over and over again from my friends that went to Kansas State for the football game. Every single person there wearing purple and whatever was like, "Hey, how are you doing? Everybody treating you nice. You want to come to our tailgate, have some food?" Those are the best fans, right? I'm not saying Arizona fans aren't like that, but we can, other than upping our passion quote, our passion meter as far as cheering for our team, we could also increase our hospitality.
I would agree with that, man. Again, because here's where I've always thought that Arizona is a better fit in the Big 12 at this point, because Arizona does care about sports. I mean, you can watch that, Arizona fans care about sports. You go to the, obviously, especially with basketball, and you're in a conference now that you have a bunch of people that care about sports. So let's have fun with it. The other thing that's great about it, too, is having active Twitter fan bases. Dude, like, I can't tell you dude, until calling my lawyer, dude.
That's all right, bro. Keep going.
Thanks, homie. Like when we'd be playing Stanford or Oregon State, there was nothing. Every Texas Tech fans, they're just going crazy this week because they just want to see Arizona. They're excited about all of this stuff. It's just a new environment, and I think that's where people lose the focus on it. Sports is supposed to be fun, and so when you have people that are having fun, that is the best part about all of this. Ali, misery does not. No, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted to say. Happiness loves happiness. How about that, Ali?
That's right. And it's like of all the things happening in this world and people trying to make us divided so for their own benefit and making us not like each other for whatever reason, sports is the one thing that really bonds us and brings us together. No matter what your beliefs are, no matter what religion you are, no matter what your culture is, we're all together. And let the people up north be nasty in Tempe. Right. We should be the most accommodating, nice host to any team that comes in. And Saturday night's going to be the first taste we're going to get of how many Big 12 Texas Tech fans are going to come to Arizona Stadium. That's going to be the first time.
Ali, can we get a game prediction from you, from the great Ali?
Yeah, I mean, you mean a score prediction?
Yeah, score, yeah.
Or game prediction. The game is going to happen. It's going to start at 8 o'clock. That's my prediction.
We're going to verify that Ali is saying the game will occur.
Yes, and I think that, the Texas Tech, the little I've seen, that they're not the best pass rush as far as from the defensive line. If we can protect Noah, I think we should put up about 35 to 38 points. So give me Arizona 38, Texas Tech 24.
All right. Now, I got it. I'm going to go, wow, I like that. I'm going to go Arizona 38, Texas Tech 27. I am basically copying listen, if you're talking with somebody that's argued before the Ninth Circuit before, going to follow his lead. That's what I'm going to do with that one. I got to ask you a question, too. Somebody wanted me to ask you because you obviously coached him and you knew. When you look at it right now, and this is totally off topic, the two best athletes born and raised in Tucson of revenue sports, and it's not even close, it's Sean Elliott and Bijan Robinson, correct?
In my opinion, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Bijan Robinson, I saw Sean Elliott at U of A, and he's my all-time favorite Arizona basketball player forever.
Right.
And so I got to see him in college. But in high school, yeah, Bijan Robinson, we've had a lot of really good players come from Tucson. Sims, Kadeem Carey, Rodney Peete, but you're just the hand of Zeus touched him at birth. It's Bijan Robinson.
I remember when I was at the radio, Dobbins said I thought it was an interesting way. Jay Dobbins, what does that guy know? He said, listen, he's like, there's some people that just God touches their shoulder, and that's one of them. And the other thing that's Fat Lever, actually born and raised most of his life in Arkansas, but he did go to Pueblo, so that's why.
Yeah. There's so many guys we could talk about in Tucson, but if you want to say guys on a coaching staff at South Point that coached a lot of good guys and pretty focused and not big rah-rah guys, how many times we looked at each other and said, holy sugar, honey, iced tea after Bijan did something?
Right.
It was incredible.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it must have been nice to be able to coach that. Now, how much of that do you think he credits you with all of this, though?
Now, the one thing about Bijan, and it's been said over and over again, it doesn't make it untrue. Better human being than he is a football player. And, you saw him at the Monday Night Football, as Bijan Robinson, South Point,
cool.
Right? He gives back in so many ways to our community, and he's always giving credit to Dennis Benet, Zach Nevleff, his running back coach, and all the coaches. It really is a village, man. When you're coaching young men, we're all doing it together, and we're teachers, right? You think about coaching, we're really teachers, and it was just I put it as one of the most fortunate things I've ever been able to do is be a coach on that staff with those men and be able to coach kids like Bijan Robinson.
All right, Jacob Greenberg, who is the guest? It's Ollie Farhang. He has the best show in Tucson by a mile, along with Justin Spears. 7 to 9, 1490, 94.9, channel 4 on your HD dial. I have a new phone. I have a new car, by the way, which gets it. Andrew Trujillo did not believe me that I didn't get it on my old Kia Optima. Maybe that's why it was stolen, because I wasn't able to listen to channel 4, 94.9 on my HD dial. So
if you want to do it live, you can stream it on the ESPN Tucson app, or if you don't have time to catch it, we're on Spotify and Apple. We podcast everything, and we do overtime episodes that are not necessarily regulated by the FCC. We can speak a little more freely.
All right. He is the man, Ollie Farhang. Also, no better time to become PHNX diehard. We got all kinds of good stuff. All kinds of diehard membership, free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, access to all the premium written content, entrance to the Discord lounge, discounts on all events. All right. Like I said, you guys got to be tuning into them. This is the best radio show in the city, and it's one of two shows that I try to listen to pretty much every day. You and Happy Hour. I generally kind of go back and forth on that one because I listen to our Happy Hour. It's not called that anymore, but with Jody, just because
Jody's great, man. Jody's great, and Mike, with all sincerity, man, you're awesome. And the one thing I'm going to tell you as a friend, and it took me a little while to get over this, the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned thing. Our coach from last year is gone. I don't care about him, that team, that city. You think we need to drop it? I think we speak him out of existence, and karma will take care of it.
Fair enough, Ollie. You know what? I'm going to listen to a man smarter than me. Fair enough. You have my word. All right. For Mr. Ollie Farhang, the best, the great, Kevin Thomas behind the scenes, Justin Spears setting off fire alarms at the Arizona Stadium. Appreciate your time, my guy. We'll talk with you soon. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Thanks, Mike.
We all silly like the mayor.